I was a conspiracy theory whiz for a little while. And basically what happened was I started watching some videos on YouTube, and they were, interesting, and they were really freaky, and I didn't really believe them. But then I was like, well, what if? On the off chance, like, what if, and you just kind of continue down that rabbit hole. As you watch more and more of those videos, they pull things that are kind of loosely related together as proof of something very simple. And it's easy to understand that, and it's easy to take it as truth and run with it, because you're able to kind of play into what you're already comfortable with. You get to go with the political party that you're the most interested in. You get to rah-rah for them. And that is built into American culture. So I really do feel bad for Republicans who feel like they have only one or two options that tells truth from the Republican viewpoint. I just found out that the head of NBC was instrumental in helping to create the Trump myth for the TV show The Apprentice, in that he was already broke, and they kind of came in to create this myth of him being the ultimate businessman, even though people who worked on it have since said that it was obviously a crumbling empire and they were supposed to make it look good. It just came out that the head of NBC actually said that there are certain ways that he could help Trump in the initial debates, and then they assumed that Trump was going to lose and they could have a TV show spinoff and make a ton of money. So, that's disappointing. And you have to just take it as, okay, that's the situation. That's what happened, and it's not comfortable to me. It doesn't make my media viewing easy, because now it's like, NBC doesn't seem like super bent from one direction or the other, but there are people in corporations, and some are good actors and some are not. But that doesn't mean that I will never use NBC again to fact check other organizations. I absolutely will. Because you can at least figure out a framework that most people agree on is what is really going on. And if you feel like, well, Fox News is the only Republican option, or, going online, there's, Republican shows, but just because someone has a different viewpoint doesn't mean that they cannot accurately represent the news. I am incredibly obsessed with putting out information that I not only have initially learned, that I have rechecked against multiple sources, and I have the proof to back up what I'm saying. And I cut anything out that I say that I don't have the proof to back it up. And I feel like that if you are a Republican, you could listen to a lot of the facts that I'm giving. And even though I have a different viewpoint, that doesn't mean that I cannot give you those facts. This name calling is not helpful. I am surrounded by Trump supporters in my family, in my area, and there are many incredibly lovely people, and they're just not always getting their information from multiple sources. Think about it. Growing up, we have been in the middle of the concept of a two-party system forever, really. Not forever, obviously, but we're in a two-party system, and most people, they inherit their politics from their family, from their parents. Not everyone, but a lot of people do. And a lot of people, they might have parents who are like really into cheering for their team, so maybe they have debate parties when you're 12 and you have your first crush there, and it was a magical moment, and your team won, and that felt so good. It feels so satisfying. That can be an integral part of who you are. And that can be something that makes you very opposed to learning the truth, because you'd rather have this really good feeling of being the correct one. It's us against you. It can help bond you with people that you're close with if you have the same sort of ideologies and beliefs. So politics have been introduced into our lives before we're old enough to be able to sift through it in a logical manner. We find out over and over again that your entire personality is formed when you are incredibly young. And during this time, you're being taught that our team is blue or our team is red. And it's something that we all can talk about. It's something that I feel like we used to at least agree on what was true and what was false. I feel like now we have moved away from at least agreeing on the facts and arguing about interpretation. And that is the danger of not believing in media anymore. It absolutely kneecaps your ability to try and figure out the truth. You're no longer thinking with an inquisitive mind. Instead, you're thinking, it's me versus them. And if this person who I don't even know, this politician, does something terrible, oh, well, I believed them. So it's a personal slight against me if someone else points out that they did something terrible. The easiest way to help spread disinformation is through arguments that are incredibly emotional. Are you being told to be afraid? Are you being told that you're being invaded? Are you constantly feeling angry when you watch the news? And granted, these days, if you're not constantly feeling angry when you watch the news, you're probably like a robot. So it's definitely more complicated than that. But if you find that where you're getting the news, there's just a lot more hatred that you're feeling when you watch a certain show, that show is not on your side, because that show is just going to make you super angry when you meet someone who wants to talk about those things. You're going to remember those emotional arguments and you're going to take them and they're going to become a part of you. So instead of being able to be like, this politician, this person, regardless of what party they're in, they're fallible, instead, you're going to remember all those emotional arguments, and because they were so emotional, and because they're being presented by these incredibly wealthy media conglomerates that have learned exactly how to get the viewer interested and involved and emotionally attached to what it is that you're saying, then you are just going to be swept along in that, because it is powerful what is being done, the music that's being used, the opinions, the experts that are brought on. Those things can be completely ignored when you get somebody worked up enough. And when everybody's so worked up that they can't talk to each other anymore, then the elites win, because everybody's so mad at each other and they're fighting each other, they forget to look up. They forget to see that these people are not honest actors. In fact, there's a lot of media personalities who are literally just actors, and other people are writing their scripts for them. So media appears to be more honest than it is, for the most part. But if you cannot trust media and you put all of your faith in an ideology or in just one specific viewpoint, then you just become another cog in that way of thinking. So after you come across something that is potentially illegitimate, and you go online and you do the work and you search and you find out, okay, This media conglomerate that I don't trust all the way is disagreeing with this media conglomerate who I don't trust all the way, but then this media conglomerate agrees with the second one. Okay, well that has more weight in my mind now. Even though I'm not saying you should always agree with anybody, the truth does exist. And the largest media conglomerates, they have people who will call them on the stuff that they're putting out there. Fact-checking organizations, they actually have a right-leaning perspective. They've done a lot of research to figure out who's backing these different fact-checking organizations. And I've heard so many people say they're just super liberal, but that's not actually based on what statistically fact checkers are.